everybody, welcome in. It is so good to see you. I feel like we were just together. It wasn't too long ago. I was doing a class. I think that was back on Wednesday. No, wait, Saturday. Today is Wednesday. Got to keep up. Regardless, I have a really fun project for you guys. I'm very excited to show it to you. But for those of you who have never taken a class with me before, my name is Sarah. I am a designer with Beadalon, and I specialize in wire, and wire is what we're going to be using today. We're going to be creating some finger swirls, and this is a very kind of organic technique, one where all the results, like as many times as you do this necklace, you're going to get different results every single time, and that's what makes it so cool. And I'm hoping that I will inspire you. This will definitely be a technique that you can use in other ways in your jewelry making. You can make this much smaller to do little earrings to go with this, or you could create full sets of jewelry with this. But it's just a fun way to kind of get the feeling of artistic wire, to feel what is possible with it, to kind of play around with it and really kind of freestyle, which can be its own technique in itself. So some of you will love this and will do it every once in a while. And then the rest of you, well, not the rest of you, but some of you will really take to this, and freestyle wire will be your new passion. And that's really what my goal is. I'm hoping that I can unlock that new skill for you, right? Okay, so I'm going to stop talking about things. We're going to turn around and we're going to get right to work. So we don't need a lot for today's project. You're just going to need a little bit of wire and a couple of findings. And some pretty beads, and that's pretty much going to be all that you need. The core wire that we're going to be using is 18 gauge, and I'm using German style wire for this. If you don't have German style wire, or you just prefer artistic wire, you absolutely can use artistic wire for the core. I just like the German style wire because it is a half hard wire, so it has that has a little bit more rigidity to it, has the structure that I'm looking for our necklace. Now, as far as the wire that we're going to be using to wrap with, I'm using 2 pieces of 20 gauge artistic wire. This is a dead soft wire. It's very easy to work with and really easy to kind of shape around and make little wire doodles with. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. You know how, I don't know how you are, but I'm one of those kinds of people who, if I'm on the phone or if I'm waiting somewhere and I happen to have a piece of paper and a pen, I just doodle, right? I make little doodles and swirls while I'm passing the time. This is kind of the equivalent of that with wire. So just kind of keep that in mind, right? That's how free form and freestyle we want this to be. All right. I am using for today's project, first of all, let me show you the sample. So the sample, I use some really cool dark silver faceted rounds, and they come on the card. You guys know I'm a huge fan. If you've taken classes with me before, you know I'm a huge fan of these cards that have the beads in the different sizes on them. This is the one that I used for the original project, and you can see they're silver gray, but they also have like that purple green kind of shift to them. That's what I used for the original. I wanted to change things up since I already had the sample in that color, and I'm going to use this kind of rainbow metallic. But it's still the exact same kind of bead. They're still the bead landing beads on the card. This is just a different color, but same thing. You're going to need your Beadalon Findings Variety Pack. I love these. I have these in almost every single one of my projects just because they are very handy. They have a large assortment of jump rings and clasps. So I can throw this in my bag, or I can just sit it to the side of my workstation and I don't have to go looking for findings. So this is a great kind of one-stop shop. You're also going to need a little bit of chain if that's what you want to use for the length of your necklace, just 2 pieces of chain, any style or size chain that you want. But I like to keep my chain lengths pretty small and let the wire piece really be the star of the necklace. That's not to say that you can't bead an entire piece around this, because you could do stringing with some of your favorite beads to go up either side for the length. It's totally up to you, but I'm just going to stick with simple chain for today. Okay, so the other things, you're just going to need tools, basically a cutter tool, your pliers, round nose pliers, chain nose pliers. We don't need anything special for this, okay? So we're going to start with that 1 8-inch piece of German style wire, and we're going to come down from the tip of that wire about 2 inches, and we're going to do a wrapped loop. Okay, and I'm going to walk you through that. So basically what we're doing is we're creating a wrapped head pin, or I'm sorry, an eye pin. Okay, so I'm grabbing the wire with my chain nose pliers, and I'm just going to give it a bend, just like so. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers. Determine, you know, what size you want that loop to be. I tend to make my loops on the small side, but you can really make your loops whatever size you want. So you want to take the wire and go up and over the top barrel of the pliers. And then you want to rotate the pliers in your hand so that you can take the wire over to the other side. Okay. And I'm going to switch hands, and then I'm going to wire wrap right next to that loop that we just made. And you want to wire wrap about 3 or 4 times. Don't skimp on the wire wraps with this, because you're going to need that space to put the wire that we're going to do all of our wire swirls with on top of. So make sure you give yourself a little bit of wire here. Don't just do 1 wrap and call it done. You need at least 3, 4 if you've got enough wire to do. And I'm going to come in with my cutter tool, and I'm going to trim off the excess. Okay, so this project, we start on one side and we work our way to the other side, and then we work our way back. So basically what we're going to do is the first thing we're going to do is we're going to attach our 20 gauge wire to this. And I'll tell you what the measurement is of those pieces here in just a second. But we're going to attach our 20 gauge wire, and then we're going to do this 2 beads at a time. So we'll thread on 2 beads, and then we're going to make a swirl, and then we're going to wrap around. We're going to add 2 more beads, make a swirl, and wrap around. And we're going to do that all the way to this side. But then when we go back the other direction, our beads will already be part of the design. So we'll just be working with the wire. Okay, just to kind of give you an idea, a little roadmap of where we're going. All right, so the 20 gauge artistic wire that I'm using, I've got 30 inches, 2 pieces that are 30 inches long. I know that's a lot, and it's going to be a lot to start with, but you use it up pretty quickly. So don't feel like it's going to be too much of a hassle to work with. I know that's a lot of wire. Now, what you want to do is you just want to wire wrap this to what you've already got here. And really and truly, however you can get it attached is, you know, that whatever works for you. I'm going to show you my way of doing this, and then I'm going to give you an alternative. So I like to take my 2 ends, keep them close together, and I'm going to come in with my pliers. Whoops, if I can hold on to both pieces here. I'm going to come in with my pliers, and I'm actually going to make like a sharp bend in the wire, just like that. That's just going to kind of help me to lay that wire right across the wire wraps that I've made, and just kind of squeeze over the top of them. What you want is you want those 2 pieces of wire, the working end, which is going to be these really long pieces. You want those 2 pieces to be running in the same direction. See how I just kind of folded that over? So I wrapped those just with a simple little fold over the wire wraps that already exist. And I'm going to trim these off. Now, the alternative to this is, instead of having 2 pieces that are 30 inches long, is to do a single piece that is 60 inches long and fold it in half. The only reason that I didn't choose to do that is because it's a little trickier to wrap around and make sure that the 2 long ends are going in the same direction. This just seems to be a little bit easier and less time consuming, but you can do either one of those methods, right? Whatever works for you, just as long as you get that wire attached to your 8-inch piece. Okay. All right. Now we're going to get our beads ready. And as far as the beads on the card are concerned, I'm going to be using not the largest bead, but the next step down. And we're going to be doing 2 beads at a time. So I'm going to go ahead, I have to cut those, take those off. And I'm going to take 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16. So we want 8 groups of 2 of our beads. Okay. And we're going to take that first 2. We're going to take those first 2 rather, and thread those on. And you want to drop those down so that they're sitting right up against the wires. Okay. Now, it's going to take a little patience here in the beginning, and your first couple of swirls may not be perfect. That's okay, right? This is supposed to be fun. Believe it or not, this is supposed to be fun and not frustrating. What I like to do for mine is I like to take the two wires, make sure they're running side by side as much as possible, okay? And I like to make my swirls so that they are going inwards towards the beads, okay? So what I'll do is you gotta kind of hold the beads in place, okay? And then I put my finger kind of down on the wire as I am starting. You can see how I'm kind of creating a little twist in the wire. Whoops. And if your beads fall off, that's okay. We'll get those secure here in just a second. Let me put that one back on. Okay. I'm twisting the wire around, and I'm really just letting it kind of make that twist as big or as little as it wants to be. Okay. And then I'm going to take the two wires and I'm going to wrap those around the core wire right next to those beads and fold it over so that it's on the other side. Now, remember, those first couple of swirls that you make, they're not going to be super pretty. They're just not. That's just kind of the way that it goes. But here's the thing, is that further that you go along the necklace, the more open and pretty your swirls are going to become. You can always go back in with your pliers and you can open them up. That was not a pretty one at all. Okay, I'm just being completely honest with you. It wasn't super pretty. But everybody's are probably going to look that way the first time you do this. I'm going to take another two beads. Now you'll notice our wire is on the other side, so we're kind of alternating. So I'm going to thread on two more beads. Okay. Now I like to take my swirl and swirl towards my beads. And I'm just kind of going slow, using my fingers. You can push down on the wire. Swirl around. All right. And I'm just trying to keep those two wires together as much as possible. You can see that swirl is a little prettier, right, than the first one. The first one was just kind of a dud. But once you get everything together, you won't even notice this one on the end that's not perfect, okay? So now that I made that little swirl, I'm going to wrap this wire around the core wire, and I'm actually going to just twist everything with my fingers. I feel like it just makes things a lot easier just to twist. And now the wire is over here on this side. So we're ready to add another two beads. Okay. So we're going to thread on another two of the rondelles. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing. Just going to kind of twist the wire around. You can do it far away from the beads if you want to. You can do it right up on top of them. It's up to you. It's all just very free form. And if you don't like the way that it looks, take it out and do it again, right? It's just wire. Okay, so there's that one. Bringing it up here to the core wire. And again, I'm just going to twist to make that wrap. Right, so you can see I've got a swirl going that way on this side and then a swirl down here on this side. Now my wire is up here, ready to go on to the next. So I'm going to add two more of the rondelles. Okay, and then I'm going to swirl again. And notice how when I do my swirls, mine are always going in the same direction. I'm always going towards the beads. Okay, just guide the wire around, come up to that core wire, and then twist. All right. We're going to do another two. Okay. We're going to go back the other direction with our twist. All right, so we're just kind of alternating here. And that one even looks different than the rest of them. They all look different. That's what makes it so cool. And this is definitely a piece that when you're finished, you know 100% that it was a handmade piece, right? It's definitely not, you know, a prefab. A machine didn't spit this out, you know. This was your hands did every single twist and turn of the wire for this. So another 2 beads. Okay, and we're gonna twist some more. Just make a little swirls. And it's okay if you're, see how the wires are kind of overlapping? It's okay if they do that. They don't have to run perfectly side by side. Let them kind of do what they want to do. All right. And then twist. We're ready for another 2. Okay. And twist around again. It's funny, one side, if I go one direction, I have a little bit harder time with going the other direction. So if you find that you have that problem too, just know that you're not the only one. It seems like it's easier for me to make swirls going one direction than it is the other direction. All right, so I have one more set of rondelles to add to this. I'm going to go ahead and add those rondelles. And before we do the little swirls, we're going to go ahead and do a wrapped loop just to secure these beads on the end of our 18 gauge wire. So I'm just going to kind of move these long pieces of the 20 gauge out of the way so that I can come in with my chain nose pliers. Okay, and we're just going to do a wrapped loop. So I'm bending that wire over the top of the pliers. I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers, going up and over. Rotate, take the wire over to the other side, and then very carefully, because we're still kind of having to make room for all this extra wire here, we're going to wire wrap in that space. Okay, and we're going to trim off. Okay, all right, so now I've got one more swirl. Get this back to the right direction here so that you can see. Okay, I've got one more swirl to make. And this end. Okay, and now when I wrap around, I'm actually going to wrap over the top of those wire wraps that we just made. And now my wire is in place to go back the other direction. And you can see just how we've just kind of swirled around. It's very organic, right? I don't stress that they match each other, that each one be exactly the same, because I don't want them to. I want this to be very, very freestyle. That's what makes it so unique. All right, so I'm going to go back the other direction. Okay, and I'm basically what I'm doing is I'm going to be making another swirl at each set of beads, and it really just kind of frames up the little sets of 2 beads. Okay, so I'm just going back the other direction. Now this time I don't have to add beads. All I have to worry about is just making the little swirls with my wire, and then the same thing coming to the space in between the beads, and I'm just going to twist, and that's automatically going to put me right out over here on the other side where I'm ready to do another little twist. Kind of hold that twist down with your thumb if you want those wires to run side by side. Okay, bring that up to that section between the 2 beads, twist everything around, and then we're going to go back other direction for our next little set. Twist that around. Ooh. And then twist. Okay, I'll go the other direction for the next one. All right. Twist between. Always put your wire right back where it needs to be. Okay. Twist between the little groups. Now, if you decide that you want to twist your wire the other direction, in other words, if you don't want to make your twists going towards the beads and you want to do them out away from the beads, you're going to get a completely different look. So my advice is to play with it, right? To play around with the twisting the wire and, you know, figure out which direction you like the twist the best. If you like it going towards the beads or away from the beads, or if you like some sort of combination of both, that's also a really cool look. All right, we're up here to the very last one. Now, what I want to do is I think I want to undo, and I can at this point, right? I can undo all of this and none of this is going to come undone. So I'm going to unwind what was my attach, right? Where I had attached this wire. And I want to kind of clean this one up a little bit. I could have left it just like it was and it would have been fine, but it's secure enough now that I can undo it and kind of clean it up a little bit without having to worry that I'm going to mess up the whole piece. And it's still not going to be perfect. That's all right. I'm not looking for perfection here. Oh, that was probably a bad idea. Probably should have just left it like it was, but you know what? It's all right. Has personality. So twist that right back around so that we make sure that it is secure. Look at that pitiful little swirl. That's okay. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all. It's okay. All right. And I'm going to finish off my other swirl, the other side. Just gives it a little character, right? And then to finish that off, I'm going to just wire wrap that over those wraps. Now you're going to find that it's going to be kind of chunky on one end, and that's okay. Okay. All right, minus that little mess right there. The rest of it, I think, looks pretty darn good. And what's cool about it is that you also have all of these opportunities to add extra things to this. So anywhere that you've got a loop, right? You could potentially, if you wanted to, wire wrap other things to this. You could potentially make dangles or charms and hang them with jump rings from any of the little loops that you see. So you do have some options when it comes to, you know, what you can do past this point. But what we've got here at the moment is just a straight stick, if you will, of beads. Now, you got two options here. You can actually form this around your wrist if you want to and make a bangle out of it, put some hardware on it. But since we're making a necklace, I'm actually going to kind of coax mine into a U shape. It is very sturdy because it has that German style wire as the core. So it does take a little coaxing to get it into the shape that you want it to, or you can leave it straight. It's up to you. It's your design. You can do whatever you want to with it. But I kind of like mine in this little soft U shape. And then the only thing that you have left to do is just add your hardware and your chain or whatever materials that you're going to use for the length part of your necklace. I've just got this one single piece of chain so that I can show it to you on a bust, but I am going to go ahead and add the jump rings to it so that you can see the at least that step. Okay, so I'm just going to take a jump ring between two pairs of pliers. I'm going to twist to open the jump ring. I'm going to thread that on to one of the loops on one end, thread on the end of my chain. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Before I close that jump ring, add, oh, well, let's add the chain first. Add the chain to the jump ring, then add the jump ring to the loop. Close that back. Okay. And that's it, you guys. That's it. Now, that doesn't mean that has to be the end of your design. You can really take this to so many different places if you want to. But as far as our class is concerned, we've made it to the end of our project. And you can see you still get that beautiful color from the beads behind it. And the further away you set your twists, right? So if you do your little loops and you kind of set them away from the beads, the more of the bead is going to show. But again, that's just something you got to kind of play around with and see what you like the best. And there's that one. And then I just want to kind of refer to the sample because I want to show you just how different, right? I mean, they're similar in style and similar in technique, but they do look very different because every single one of the little wire swirls comes out differently, right? And you can keep them close to the beads. You can make them far away from the beads. You can do great big swirls. You can do little tiny tight swirls like that one right there if you want to. Lot of options for this. Now, before I turn you around and show you what this looks like on the bust, I do want to mention one thing. So we've talked about, or we created the front of a necklace. And I did say that you could turn it into a bangle bracelet if you wanted to. But just for a second, imagine that you only did maybe 2 or 1 of these little sections of 2 beads to make earrings that matched. That would be really pretty as well. So you could do a loop on either end, right? And then just cover that loop with your wraps on one end. Or you could do some sort of head pin here if you wanted to, or another small bead and wrap around it to secure your wire on the opposite end. That would keep you from having a loop on this end and a loop here to add your ear wire to. So you really can make an entire set out of this if you wanted to. But yeah, and earrings are definitely a great way to practice your little swirls without using up a ton of wire. So really cool, really cool. All right, I'm going to turn you guys around and I'm going to put this on a bust so that you can see what it looks like hanging, because everything looks different when it is hanging. And then I will let you guys go so you can see here. Oh, whoops. Always struggle with the bust here. Trying to keep my chain even. But you can see you've got some real structure, but you really can see the pops of the color, that metallic, you know, the metallic colors are really kind of popping through those wire twists. It's just a really cool, unique design. And it's relatively simple to put together. I mean, it does take practice to make those swirls, but once you get the swirls, you really can kind of open up your mind to more freestyle wire. Wire is supposed to be fun. If you are coming at wire and you're frustrated all the time and you're bogged down by technique, and you're really getting discouraged, I encourage you to try a project like this and just kind of let the wire do what the wire wants to do with just a little bit of coaxing from you. And you can see that you can still come up with absolutely beautiful designs that don't have to have that structure, that rigidity, and that technique all the time. Sometimes it's okay to kind of just let the rules go out the window and just enjoy what you're doing. And wire is a great medium for that. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this project. I really enjoyed showing it to you. I cannot wait to see what you guys create. So if you do happen to recreate this project or you use this technique in a way, whether it's earrings or a bracelet or what have you, make sure that you tag those with Make It With Michaels and Beadalon so that we can see and you can share your inspiration with everybody else.
Hey,
Thank
Sarah.
you, Sarah. Yes.
Before you jump off, there was a couple of questions that I didn't want to break in on you.
Okay.
Someone did ask towards the end if you could show how you started it again and also what size beads that you were using.
Okay, yeah. Let me turn you back around. I'll show you just how I don't have a full pieces of the wire here, but I can cut some really short pieces real quick just to show you. Super quick, not a problem at all. So as far as the size of the beads, they're the ones that are on the card where there's 4 different sizes. I'll get my little measure tool out here and show you. But let me cut a couple of pieces of wire real quick. All right, so as far as the beads that we were using, They are 6 by 8. So the 6 by 8 rondelles on the card of the four different sizes. This one only has 3. That's because we're using the we're using that 4th one there. All right, so just real quickly, I'll show you again how to get started. I'm not going to do a bunch because I've only got 4 beads left here. But I started with a wire wrapped loop. So I'm just going to start out like this, come in with our round nose pliers. We're going up and over, rotating the pliers, take the wire over. Now, I said in the beginning, you want to be sure that you give yourself at least 3 wire wraps. 4 if you've got enough wire to do that. If you don't, that's okay. Okay, I come and trim off that excess, right? And so your original piece would need to be 8 inches long. Mine's not, because we're just kind of improvising here at the end. And then you want 2 pieces of the 20 gauge wire that are 30 inches long each, or 1 piece that's 60 inches that you fold in half. The German style wire is the core. The artistic wire is the wire that you're using to do your swirls with. And so to get started, I bring my 2 wires together, my 2 pieces of the artistic wire, and I just do like a little hook in the wire. I find that it just makes it a little bit easier to attach it. You want to be sure that you have your working end, and then I'm just squeezing it together, right? I'm just kind of squeezing around those wire wraps that are already there. And that's really all there is to getting your wire secure. But you want the 2 long ends to be towards the length of your 8-inch piece. Okay, so you would thread on 2 beads. Oops, my wire's got a little kink in it. So you thread on 2 beads, and that first swirl, first step's a doozy. That's what I always say. The first swirl is always the hardest, right? And part of the reason the swirl is the hardest is because you're kind of, you're worried about holding the beads on, and you've got a lot of wire to work with, and you're not really sure, trying to hold everything together. You just want to swirl that wire around however it will go. Okay. And then go to the side of those 2 beads and just kind of twist it around until the wire is on the other side. And then you would just add 2 more beads, and you would just keep going. So that's how we would get started. I hope that was helpful. Did we have any other questions?
There was one quick question asking if you can show, I think, the packaging of your wires.
The packaging of the wires. Okay, so for me personally, let me turn you around for this. So I actually don't have the Michaels packaging because I have huge spools of wire, but I will show you. So just for instance, the German style wire comes in these blister packs like this. So it's going to be hanging. If you're going to Michael's to shop for it, it's going to be hanging on the wall. And then the artistic wire, I don't have, hold on. So this isn't a great example because this is multicolored wire, but this is the way that you'll find the artistic wire as well. And it's in these little dispenser packs as well. They have a little hole back here on the back, and you can kind of punch through, and you can pull the wire through that little hole so that you don't have to take the entire spool of the wire out, and you can just pull out what you need. But these are also going to be hanging, and that's the way the artistic wire comes. So there's definitely a difference in the packaging. You'll see. And of course, one of them says artistic wire on it, and the other one says German style wire on it. All right, so if that's it, I am going to let you guys go. Don't forget, you guys, to post your pictures so that we can see. And don't forget that you can come back and watch this video. Just like Felicia said, you can watch it 24 to 48 hours over on the Michaels YouTube site, as well as all the other awesome classes that Michaels has to offer. All right, you guys have a wonderful rest of the afternoon, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye, guys.